Hey guys, I wanted to give you a little quick tour of my drum set that I have. This drum set actually has some history. I've had it for about 15 years now. I bought it when I was 15. Paid $100 for it then. I don't remember who I got it from. I remember sort of where they lived and everything. But it came with the drum set that you're going to see. These hi-hats, the pedal, and this heavy crash, Sabian B8 Pro. It's a heavy crash. That's all it came with. Came with the stool, and it came with the drum set. I keep it covered up because it sits by this window, and I don't want the sun to fade the finish any more than it is. It's pearl set. After doing some research, it's a Niles badge oval shape pearl finish. So it's between a 1970 and a 1972. So I was pretty impressed to see that this drum set is actually that old. The snare came with it. It's not a pearl, or yeah, I'm saying pearl. It's a pearl finish. It's a Slingerland brand. Sorry about that. But it's a Ludwig snare. Somebody told me what type this was. I forget. It's kind of known as a student snare, but it works pretty good for me. I bought a Gammon drum set, which you may see in some of my other videos. I ended up giving it to my mom. That came with the China cymbal here and this big huge ride cymbal. And I purchased a thin crash and a paste splash 12-inch from the drum store. So this is it. The finish is in pretty good shape. Bass drum has a small crack on the inside, but other than that there's no extra holes or anything like that. All the hardware seems to be original. I even have the old Slingerland pedal with a leather strap, which broke about a few weeks of me using it. This beater's actually off of a Ludwig. It says Ludwig beater, so the beater's not original. I swapped in a cheapo double bass pedal that I paid way too much for. I paid $100 for it, and I found out after the fact that you can get these new for $70. I paid $100 plus tax. Then this was used, lightly used, but used. So I got taken to the bank on that. But I should have did a little research. I mean, I didn't see any name on it or anything like that. But yeah, I just put new Evans heads on. It's got G2 heads on the top. This is a reverse.EC Evans head. It's got the snare underneath for the snare side. The bottom heads are G1s. The bass drum is a 20-inch bass. It's got an EMAD head, clear head on the front, and on the back it has the EMAD ported head. How well you can see that. But it's got the port. It gives it a little bit more depth to it, I think. I forgot to tell you, the heads that were originally on here. The history about the drum set, I bought it when I was 15. I was taking drum lessons. And my drum instructor, he was a good instructor, but he started me on the rudiments. I didn't really get to start playing on a kit until almost a year in. I did do a little kit work, but it was all just rudiments on the snare pretty much. So about a year in, he started teaching me how to play songs and stuff. Well, I only learned one song, and that was a Foo Fighters song. I forget which one it was. But I was starting to learn on that. But anyway, I just kind of lost interest, I guess. I was 16 then, and got a car, and I had women interested in me, and you know, all the types of things that adolescent males get interested in. So unfortunately the drums just sat, and they sat for many years in my parents' basement, which actually got wet a few times, and luckily these weren't damaged at all. I was really impressed when I took them apart. There's no mold or water damage that I can tell at all from them, so that was good. But they sat there for many years until my nephew, he got interested in learning to play, so he asked if he could have it. I said, yeah, go ahead. So he took the drum set. They had it for about 5 years. I don't even know if he played it at all. It pretty much just sat in my sister's basement. So it's almost kind of a lucky thing that he got it, because not too long after he got it, my parents' basement had a pipe break, and it had a huge amount of water going in the basement because they were on vacation when it happened. And I actually discovered it over there when I was over there. But the set more than likely would have been, definitely, it would have got water damage and warped and everything just from that. So it was almost meant to be that he took the set and saved it in a way, and it was then kept in his dry basement for about 5 years until I got the bug just recently, a couple months ago. I got a bug to start playing again, and looked on Craigslist. I didn't want to ask my sister for my old set back because I didn't know if he was using it or not or anything, and I just didn't want to do that. So looked on Craigslist, found a cheap Gammon for 125 bucks, bought that. The cymbals that came with it were absolute crap. They were paper thin. I mean, they were thinner than this thin crap, so you could just bend it. The hi-hats, when I got them, they almost looked like a dinner bowl or something, where it was like a floured edge. It would raised up, and the guy told me, oh, I thought they were supposed to be like that. They were his sons who went into the army. No, they were just beat up to all hell. The heads were pitted. They were single ply heads, pitted really, really bad. Cheap heads. They were the heads that came with it. Everything about the set was cheap. I mean, it was a nice set. I mean, if you would have put good heads on it and got better cymbals, it would be a decent starter set. But I was just using that until my mom came over one day and invited her over for dinner, and she started messing around on my drums. She's always been into drumming and stuff, so you know, it kind of runs in the family. Her brother is a really, really, really good drummer, and she's always been into it, and I've always that was always my favorite instrument to play, was the drums. It was the only thing I was really interested in. Took guitar for a little bit, but that didn't last long either. But she came over and messed around with it, and she informed me that my sister told me that, I guess she told my sister that I bought a set. And my sister told her, well, if I would have known that, I would have just gave him his old set back. So that kind of sparked an idea. I was like, well, I know that, I didn't know what type of set this was. It was all, I thought it was a pearl. I keep calling it a pearl, I guess because of the pearl finish. But I knew that it definitely had better cymbals than what I had. So I called her up and I said, hey, do you mind if I get my old set back? And she said, no, absolutely not. You can come over. Went and picked it up. It was in pretty much the same condition that I gave it to her. The heads were on there. I never once changed or tuned the heads because I didn't really play it much when I had it when I was 16. So I never changed the heads. I never tuned them. He never did either. So they had these old Remo pinstripe heads on that were on there for at least 15 years. Who knows how long the guy had them on before me that sold them to me. He could have had them on for 5-10 years. So these heads were really old and beat up and just, they needed replaced and everything. Also, as I was assembling it back together at the house, I noticed that this tom mount, it had a bolt like this. It has a drum key that would go in here. It wouldn't go tight, and that brought back the memory that it was always like that ever since I had it. This tom would never tighten up. It would always move, and after hitting the bass pedal a couple times and everything, it would start to vibrate its way off, and you'd have to stop playing, put it back on. So that was one of the issues that was still there. And then also with this floor tom mount, the bolt or wing nut, like it had one of those on, that was stripped out as well. So this wouldn't go tight to hold the leg up. So I got it back, and I was gonna try to drill and tap a new hole, but it was messed up. And I just found one of these bolts laying around. It was like a self-tapping bolt. And I put it in, tightened it up, and much to my surprise, it almost threaded in exactly like it was meant to be in there. And I tightened it up, and as you can see, I'm moving the whole thing. It doesn't move. And I've had this together for a week now, and I've been beating the hell out of it. It hasn't moved. Same issue with this. Just found a bigger bolt. It went in, and it's been holding. But I ordered these new heads off of eBay, and put them on, tuned them up and everything. And sounds a lot better than it did. Really impressed. The set definitely needed it. It was well past due. Like I said, I bought a thin crash and a splash. I wanted to have a splash cymbal, and I wanted to have a different crash than what I did. So, as you guys know, you just kind of upgrade your sets as you go along. But another interesting fact, when I got the drum set, it just had the batter head on the bass drum. There was no reso head at all. But he did include the hoop here. Well, over the years, I was sitting in my parents' basement and everything, and when it got flooded, that hoop might have got left behind. I don't know whatever happened to it. But a couple weeks ago, I went down and looked for it. It wasn't there anymore, so it was gone. Along with the claws for the reso side, all the claws were missing. There's 8 of them. They were all gone. So I looked on eBay, and it was almost like a match made in heaven. I know the light blue pearl finish is pretty popular. It's one of the more popular finishes of the Slingerland set. But I actually found one listed on Craigslist, a 20-inch bass drum with 2 hoops. I just needed the hoop. That's all I wanted was the hoop. But it was listed at like $40. So I bid on it and ended up winning the bass drum shell, 2 hoops and everything for I think $50 plus 30 shipping. While you could buy just 1 hoop for about $50. So it was a pretty good deal. As you can see, this is an older Slingerland. It's got a little bit different finish, it's more faded. Bass drum hoops are all beat to hell. This was the worst one. But it's got the Slingerland black and gold Niles badge there. Black and brass or whatever. I think it's a 1960s. So I got that, and I repainted the hoop. That one looked like the one that I showed you. Looks a little bit better, and it's cool because it actually pretty much matches. I mean, it's not an exact match, but from a distance you can't really tell. So I was just going to get any old generic bass drum hoop, but I found that and I said, you know, what the hell. So that's pretty much it, guys. I know I'm boring the hell out of you probably. Anybody that's interested in vintage drums might like this video, but I just love the finish of it. And obviously it did fade some, which happens. But never in my life did I expect that it was from the 1970s. I always thought it was a relatively newer set when I owned it when I was younger, but things like the internet were just starting to come about when I was 15. Only a few people had it. We had it, but it's just not what it is now, where you can find anything on anything, or you can go type in anything and find out all the history about it and everything. So definitely wouldn't have been able to find out about these, I'm sure, at the time. But I just didn't have the interest either. I thought they were newer drums and didn't interest me that much. It wasn't until I got them back again that I decided to do a little research, see how old they were, and pretty impressed. So yeah, they're going to stay with me for the rest of my life. I'm not ever letting them go again. I got lucky that they came back and in the same condition that I gave them to them in, so just let you hear what they sound like. Got a nice tone to them since I put the heads on. Then I got my cymbals. So yep, that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully you got a little something out of this. But yeah, take care.